Now, let us come to the third theme, that is the concept of inference, that is anumana. Though inferential knowledge is understood as indirect knowledge, it is not independent of perception. The term anumana means a cognition, that is man, which takes place after, that is anu, perception. Hence, Gautama in Nyaya Sutra, having defined perception, defines anumana as tatpurvakam, that is preceded by that is preceded by perception. Now, what was the distinction between Swarthanumana and Pararthanumana, and what Nyayikas and Buddhists have to say on that? Let us see that. So, this is about the inferential knowledge or indirect knowledge that occurs to oneself, that is anumana, when we are talking of anumana as the cognition which follows perception. When one wants to convince the other person about the inferential knowledge which oneself has, one has to present an argument. Gautama prescribed a particular pattern of arguments consisting of 5 steps, which he called avayava. This implied a distinction between inferential knowledge and inference presented as argument. The Buddhist logician Dingnag, in his theorization of inference, made the distinction explicit in the form of anumana for oneself and anumana for others, swarthanumana and pararthanumana. Out of the two, anumana for others has the form of an argument, but anumana for oneself does not necessarily have the form of an argument. Anumana for oneself is of the nature of knowledge, and hence it is the basic form of anumana pramana. For Nyaya, the two processes are parallel or isomorphic in nature. This is shown by the table that we will see on the screen. In this table, we have 2 columns. One column is Swarthanumana, the other is Pararthanumana. In Swarthanumana column, we have stages in inferential knowledge. In Pararthanumana column, we have steps in the argument. Now, if you will just see the first row in this table, then on Pararthanumana side there is pratidnya, that is the claim that there is fire on the hill. So, this is the claim of the thesis. On Swarthanumana side, we do not have anything, because in Swarthanumana we have stages of cognition and we already do not know what we are going to know. But from second step onwards, that is second row onwards, we have parallelism between Swarthanumana and Pararthanumana. So, the first stage in Swarthanumana is hetu jnana, that is perception of smoke on the hill. On Pararthanumana side, we have the second step of the argument, which is called hetu, because there is smoke on the hill. On Swarthanumana side, the second stage is vyapti smarana, recollection of the invariable smoke fire relation. On Pararthanumana side, we have the third step, which is called udaharana, and the form of this udaharana is wherever there is smoke, there is fire, like in the kitchen. On Swarthanumana side, again the third stage is called paramarsha. The nature of that paramarsha is the cognition of smoke on the hill as pervaded by fire. On Pararthanumana side, we have the corresponding step in the argument, which is called upanaya. The smoke on the hill is pervaded by the fire. And lastly, on Swarthanumana side, we have the resultant inferential cognition, that is the cognition of fire on the hill. On Pararthanumana side, we have the last step, which is called nigamana, that is conclusion, which is of the form, therefore, there is fire on the hill. According to Dingnag and also Dharmakirti, on the other hand, the two types of inference are related by causal relation, but they are neither parallel nor isomorphic. Now, let us see how Dignaga systematizes Nyaya inference. Inferential knowledge as understood by Gautama refers to the cognitive passage from seen to unseen. This passage is based on similarity and dissimilarity with seen cases. For instance, the knowledge of fire on the hill from the smoke seen there is based on similarity with the kitchen, where both smoke and fire are seen together, and dissimilarity with a lake, where both are absent together. Vatsyayana, the early commentator of Nyaya Sutra, defined inferential knowledge as based on the relation between the sign and the signified, that is linga and lingin, hetu dharma and sadhya dharma. But what is the direction of this relation? It is from sign to the signified and not vice versa. Where sign is available, signified property also should be available, but it is not expected that where signified property is available, sign should also be available. Smoke cannot exist without fire, but fire can exist without smoke. Dignaga, in his systematization of inference, introduced the notions of paksha, that is dharmin, where sadhya dharma is to be proved, then sapaksha, that is the set of similar cases, and vipaksha, that is the set of dissimilar cases. By using these terms, Dignaga presented his triple character theory of a good hetu. Similarly, he expounded the wheel of hetus, where, that is hetu chakra, which consisted of 9 different possibilities in which a good or bad hetu could be existent or non-existent in sapaksha, that is similar cases, and vipaksha, that is dissimilar cases. He replaced the Nyaya model of 5-step argument by the model of 3 elements of proof: thesis, that is paksha, reason, that is hetu, and instance, that is drushtanta, and developed a theory of their respective fallacies also. Now, lastly, let us come to post Dignaga developments of Dignaga's systematization of inference had far-reaching consequences on the further development of Indian logic. Other systems developed their theories of inference by adopting, criticizing, or modifying Dignaga's theory. Nyayikas, for example, augmented the list of 3 characteristics by 2 more characteristics: non-falsification of the thesis by other means, that is abadhita vishayatva, and non-availability of a counter argument, that is asat pratipakshatva. Though Dharmakirti, the grand disciple of Dignaga, rejected such an emendation of Dignaga's doctrine of triple character of hetu, he himself reconstructed the theory of triple character through his reinterpretation. Dharmakirti incorporated the notions of universality and necessity in the theory of triple character hetu. Dharmakirti insisted that the necessary relation between hetu and sadhya is possible in either of the 2 ways, identity and causality. Though this closed concept of necessary relation was not accepted by other systems, the notion of universal pervasion as the basis of inference was accepted by all the schools of Indian philosophy, of course, except Charvaka. So, let us conclude with this observation. Thank you.